Okay, so now as you can see in this article, okay, the link is at the top. Brothers can see it. And it
Yep.
says the lost orcs. And we're gonna jump right into the point, which is all the way over here. Now it says the Arabian orcs has held symbolic value for the people of the Middle East for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
It says it is thought that the mythical unicorn creature was developed from the animal's characteristics. It says in profile, the oryx appears to have one horn, and the Hebrew word ra'am may have been translated as unicorn.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So when you read the scriptures and you come across unicorns, it's really going it's translated that way. All right. Basically off of the animal's characteristics. And the characteristic of the orcs is from a side profile.
Mm-hmm.
They look the animal look like it has one horn.
Exactly.
All right, but it actually has two. But that's just a part of the animal's characteristic.
It's
all
like
right?
it's like
traits.
Yep.
You know.
It's like if you look at um a human being. If you look at a human being at a front view, frontwards view, they got two eyes. But if you look at them from a profile, they look like they have one eye because you see them from the side, even though they really got two. Okay? Like one of Alexander's generals was known as Antigonus Monophthalmus, which means Antigonus the one-eyed. And when he would take his pictures, he'd take his pictures in a profile view, and you just see the side of his face. But he actually did have one eye that he lost in battle.
Gone.
You know?
All right. So you know.
Okay. So the next thing, so I wanted to bring up this right here, the Arabian orcs, a cultural symbol. Okay. So I'm gonna read some of this. It says, when it's beyond our comprehension, it belongs to the realm of fantasy. This happens all the time, and close to home we have seen how the orcs, the largest wild animal in the Arabian Peninsula, has grown beyond the dimensions of the real and acquired mythical proportions as the Arabian unicorn. The unicorn that isn't, even turned out to be the muse of Arab poets and painters, who couldn't resist its feminine beauty. The fact that the common Arab female name Maha is the Arabic word for orcs explains it all. So one thing that the unicorn or the orcs, notice it said the unicorn that isn't, because it's not really a unicorn, but you would explain to you why.
Right.
Okay? And that shows you it's a certain way that the Most High opened up stuff to you, because you just read the scripture and you wouldn't know what it's talking about. But not until you just copy the Hebrew characters, and once you pasted it on Google, it just popped right up.
Right.
It just popped right up, remember?
Yep.
It just popped right up. And said, oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that the common Arab female name Maha is the Arabic word for orcs explains it all. So it was poets and painters couldn't resist its feminine beauty. And the Arabic female name, female, feminine, Maha, is the Arabic word for orcs. And it says, the fact that the common Arab female name Maha is the Arabic word for orcs explains it all. We get a glimpse of the poetical fascination for the orcs. For instance, in the poem of Umar ibn Abi Rabi'a of the early Islamic era, graceful as an ox, they brought her out, slowly walking between five budding beauties. Now let's see who Umar Abi Rabi'a is. Go right here. I'm gonna go right here. This is from www.botanica.com. Umar ibn Abi Rabi'a. I'm not gonna read his full name. I'll read it. Umar ibn Abd Allah ibn Abi Rabi'a al-Makhzumi, I would assume it's pronounced. Born November 644, Mecca, Arabia, now in Saudi Arabia. Died 712 to 719, Mecca, one of the greatest early Arabic poets. Umar belonged to the wealthy merchant family of Makhzum, a member of the Meccan tribe of Quraysh, of which the Prophet Muhammad was also a member. He spent most of his life in Mecca, also traveling to southern Arabia, Syria, and Mesopotamia. Little was known about his life, for the numerous anecdotes related about him are manifest literary fabrications. The internal evidence of his poetry, however, gives a valuable picture of the social life of the Meccan and Medinan aristocracy of his time. So we understand that he was a poet, right? I could read a little bit more, but that's basically okay. That's the end of it. So I read a little bit more. His poetry centers on his own life and emotions, eschewing the traditional themes of journeys, battles, and tribal lore, and celebrates his love affairs with the noble Arab ladies who came to Mecca on pilgrimage. Although this genre had been sporadically practiced before his time, Umar ibn Abi Rabi'a was the first to perfect it with a light meter and an accurate emotional perception. So he was one of the best. He was. It says he was one of the what? Um, right here it says he was okay. He was a poet. The internal evidence of his poetry, however, gives a viable picture of the social life of the Meccan and Medinan aristocracy of his time. So let's read a little bit more about him. Let's go to Wikipedia. His name again. It says he was an Arab poet. He was born into a wealthy family of the Quraysh tribe. Same thing we read on the last page. It just had a Y in it instead of an I. It had a Y in it. Tribe of Mecca. His father being Abd Allah and his mother Asma bint Mukhariba. He was characterized as the biographer of Ibn Khalikan as the best poet ever by the tribe of Quraysh. So he was known as the best poet ever produced by the tribe of Quraysh, which I would assume Quraysh, Koraish, is the same as Quraish. So he was known as a great poet. Just to give you some idea on him. Okay. Now let's go right here. This is from Brill.com. It says in this Rahil section, when you go to that word Rahil, okay. Rahil, that's referencing Rahil is referencing a desert journey. So it says in this Rahil section, the classical then it tells you it. Rahil section is the classical pre-Islamic Muqaddam. It says in this Rahil section, Qasida. What is Qasida? What's that talking about? Qasida, also spelled Qasida, Turkish Qasid, Persian Qaside, poetic form developed in the pre-Islamic Arabia and perpetuated throughout Islamic literary history into the present. So that's basically what the Qasida is. It's a poetic form developed in the pre-Islamic Arabia, perpetuated throughout Islamic literary history into the present. So that's all Qasida is. It's a poetic form that was developed during the pre-Islamic era, pre-Islamic Arabia. Okay, so going back, it says in this Rahil section, the classical Qasida may have images or stories of quite specific animals: the wild ass or nagar, the wild bull or cow, orcs. See that, orcs? Conforming ways. Give me 1 second. It says conforming ways. Wait a minute. Okay, conforming always to very formalized appearance and behavior. Structurally, they are integrated into the Qasida as similes. A simile is when you compare something using the words like or as. That's a simile.
Right.
If I say, this looks like, that's a simile. Or this is as so and so and so. That's a simile. Okay? So it says, structurally they are integrated into the Qasida as similes of the journeying poets. Naka. Okay? Wait 1 second. See if I got this here. Alright, it says the purpose of the present article is first of all to define the two animals, the onaga and the orcs, as acting agents in the Rahil structure and story, and once defined, to reach deeper beyond their separateness, in order to uncover their implicit coalescence into a composite, syncretic, imaginary, and ultimately symbolic figure of the unicorn. The essential characteristics of this what was that? Of this revealed Arabic unicorn is that it has no other existence than its existence in the poem Qasida. The poem or in other words Qasida, within which, however, it simultaneously continues to be a simile. See right there, unicorn. The essential characteristic of this revealed Arabic unicorn is that it has no other existence than its existence in the poem Qasida, within which, however, it simultaneously continues to be a simile, a metaphor, an allegory, and a symbol. All this aside from being one of the fields of glory of Arabic destructive poetic arts, poetic art. So what we are understanding is that in this particular poem, when it speaks, it has no unicorn has no other existence than this in this qasida or in this poem, and this continues to be a simile, metaphor, an allegory, or a symbol. So you understand that in this poem that we're going to eventually read part of it of, it's referencing the unicorn, but referencing it in a symbolic manner. Okay? So let's go back. So now that we read that, let's go to we're gonna go right here. Okay? So it says the Arabian orcs. It says and I got the word rahil. I already read the hill. What rahil basically means, like a desert journey. That's basically what it really means. Rahil, Rahil. It basically just means a desert journey. That's all it really is. Okay. All right. Continuing on. It says, this is from, you can see the link right there. In the second of the series, okay, let's go jump down. The Arabian ox, with its curved, long, and beautiful horns, is probably responsible for the fable of the unicorn. Once prolific throughout the Arabian Peninsula, the oryx is now an endangered species found only in captivity, a fate predicted by the hardy English explorer Wilfred de Siga 50 years ago in his book Arabian Sands. Okay? I just want to jump right down to the point. What's up?
I think you passed it.
Nah, folklore.
Oh, folklore.
Right there, yep. Folklore. Humans were not always the curse of the Arabian orcs, and is placed in Arabic folklore and poetry as the fauna of inspiration. As the fauna of inspiration is probably surpassed only by the camel. So that's like the only other animal in Arabic folklore. The only animal that surpasses that in Arab folklore is the camel, which you all know camels are associated with Arabs and that whole Arabian lifestyle.
Right.
In the early Islamic era, the Umayyad poet Umar ibn Abi Rabi'a, which you just went on earlier, it says, he wrote, graceful as an ox, they brought her out, slowly walking between 5 budding beauties. Didn't we read in the first thing a few articles ago that it was associated with feminine beauty? That's the reason why the female name Maha, the Arabic name Maha, is Arabic for the word orcs. Hafsa al-Rukina, Rakunia, an Arab Andalusian poetess, compared her own beauty to the orcs, albeit immodestly, when she said, my eyes are more beautiful than those of the desert orcs, and my neck is more elegant than that of a wild gazelle. And the 13th century mystic poet Ibn al-Farid figuratively asked, have you seen a lion slain by the glance of an orc or gazelle? The Arabs have admired the orcs for its whiteness and have called it Wahidi Arabi, or Arabi, as an indication of its clear, vivid color. It was also called wild cow, and it was described as a twinkling star glittering in the sky. Arab poets have long described the orcs' battles with hunters and their dogs, that they never wished the hunters to win the battle. Indeed, they revel in the orcs defeating the hunting dogs and articulated their joy in riding. The orc was a symbol of power, dignity, and pride because it never ran from a prospective battle, but with consistency, it was known as a symbol of power, dignity, and pride because it never ran from a prospective battle, but would consistently follow its attacker until they either won or lost the bout. Almost all Arab poems ended with the orcs triumphing over man's own hunting dogs. A herd of orcs was likened by poets to a beautiful forest in the barren desert. See that?
Yeah, that's crazy. And the scriptures goes into the strength of a unicorn.
Exactly.
I believe that's in Deuteronomy.
I think that's number 23. It
Number
might be in
23.
Deuteronomy too, but I
Okay.
know it's one in Numbers.
Okay, come.
So that's how we know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I guess we could bring that out later too.
Yeah, that's gonna be on one of the following pages too.
Come.
If today's young romantics are to become tomorrow's orcs, inspired poets, they concerted efforts to breed and repatriate herds because orcs are like basically on the brink of extinction. There aren't that many. Aren't there any left in the wild? As a matter of fact. So
Yeah. I believe the rest of them is in captivity.
are in captivity.
Yeah.
Come. Okay. So there's a lot of other stuff. It's like right here it says the orcs at the top of the page that the orcs has sensitive hearing, highly developed vision, and acute sense of smell, and its ability to go without water for long periods of time is legendary. it's a lot of other stuff we can get into, but we mainly want to get to the point because we'll be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this ain't National Geographic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How you go back?
Okay.
All right. It's not National Geographic, but y'all brothers know that already. All right. So now let's go up here to uh this right here. www.arabianorcs.org. Right here you go. Yep. A little bit bigger. Yes.
See,
I can read it.
okay, Con.
It says the Arabian oryx has acquired a prominent fame to the inhabitants of the Arabian Peninsula due to the typical physical features which God endowed this desert animal. Often flirting Arab poets have been mesmerized by the beauty and the breadth of the Arabian oryx's eyes, and its bright color as the crystal, as well as its agility, so they began to sing and describe their beloved and mistresses through these aesthetic characteristics which qualify the Arabian oryx, where it obtains a bountiful part in Arabic poetry. Remember we went before, if they couldn't resist its feminine beauty, it was a symbol of pride and power and so forth. However, the Arab poets not only admired by the Arabian oryx's physical beauty, but also it is extended to diagnosing its conducts and habits. The oryx has been in the past and before the advent of modern technology one of the hardest accessible preys due to its strength and courage characterized by overcoming all its pursuers. The Arabian oryx was found in the sculptures of some antiquities of the Arabian Peninsula. For example, Al Hili Archaeological Park and Al Ain United Arab Emirates, as signal the importance and the value of this desert animal within the past successive civilizations on the Arabian Peninsula. There are several given synonymous names to the Arabian oryx by the inhabitants of the Arabian Peninsula, including al-Wahidi, the clear. This name is taken from the clarity of its vision, even from a far distance. Also called antelopes, because you got like 4 different types of antelopes, and oryx is one of those species.
Con.
And the oryx is a clean animal. The Arabian oryx is also called locally in the Sultanate of Oman of the United Arab Emirates under the name of bin Sola or Al Soleil. The beautiful and literary value have permitted to the Arabian oryx to become a national icon and a marketing slogan for many governmental as well as private institutions in the countries of the Arabian Peninsula. Now, if you notice something, it says a national icon. Okay, keep that in mind. So we just read that. Now we're gonna go to right here. Read some of this. Let's see how many it was. I'm gonna try to breeze through this real quick. So much stuff here. That is from the LA Times. It says the Arabian Oryx, a comeback story. This is from July 5th, 2011. So we already understood that the unicorn is representing the oryx in profile. We
Right.
got that. We also understand that the oryx was written by Umar ibn Rabi'a, and he was one of the greatest Arab poets ever, or at least of his time.
Con.
And we read one of his writings about the oryx. And we reading what's associated with the oryx. So now we understand all of that. So now we're starting to understand why we read scripture and say the strength of a unicorn.
Right.
We know why it says that. We understand in the regional history in this particular area of the world and what that oryx symbolized to those people living within that region.
Con.
So we're taking you back thousands of years, giving you that history.
Con.
Over 1,000 years, giving you that history. So now we're giving you modern day's history. It's a cool morning, and the Arabian oryx herd at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park is hungry and slightly hostile to the village in its midst. The dominant male, known as number 337, fixes a cold stare, lets out a loud snort, and waggles his sharp horns, ready to protect his harem and offspring. The female, with equally sharp horns, attempts to lead the visitors away from their babies, cat-sized creatures tucked in small crevices in the ground. It's a matter of genetics. For eons, the herd's ancestors roamed the Arabian Peninsula, honing their survival skills. But by 1972, the last wild oryx was reportedly killed by hunters in the Persian Gulf nation of Oman. We read the last page, Sultanate of Oman, leaving only a few of the animals in captivity. What happened next was an unprecedented effort by the San Diego and Phoenix zoos to save the oryx from extinction through captive breeding. The animals were then released into the wild or protected reserves. The Los Angeles Zoo was also involved in the ox breeding program, sending 4 to Oman, 8 to Israel, and several dozen to U.S. zoos. The zoo that and see the U.S. zoos. And you think of that, you think of Revelation 18th chapter. It speaks about beasts and chariots. You know, because there's a lot of exotic animals in these zoos in the United States, but elephants not from the United States.
Right.
Tigers, lions. It says chariots. Most Americans drive what? Foreign cars. But it says the zoo has not had any orcs in its own collection since 2006. This month, the International Union for Conservation of Nature upgraded the status of the Arabian ox from endangered to threatened. It was the biggest jump in rate. I'm gonna jump down. Oh, hold on, wait. Yeah, jump down a little bit. Here you go. Here, the orcs. No, I might as well read it. It says it was the biggest jump in rankings ever achieved by a species once considered extinct in the wild, according to officials at the Switzerland-based environmental group whose red list monitors the plight of struggling species. The announcement was greeted with joy throughout the Arab world, where revival of the orcs is linked with national pride. You see, the revival of the orcs is linked with national pride. And people greeted with joy throughout the Arab world. This is 2011, this article came out.
Right.
We was reading the guy, Umar ibn Rabi'a, who died in like 1712 or, I'm sorry, like 712 or 716 CE or AD. And this is 1400 years later. 1300 plus 1400 years later. The desert antelope has a special place in Arab poetry and mythology, along with the cheetah, the falcon, and the galloping horse. The ox's curved horn, seen from a certain side angle, appeared to be a single horn, perhaps giving rise to the myth of the unicorn.
Check that out.
Check that out. I mean, so what y'all talking about, man? Y'all Christians talking about. Now, there's stuff about a unicorn that predates that, like with going back into the ancient Greek, in ancient Greece. I believe the man's name was Cestius, or something along them lines, like about 400 BC. But we're giving you what the orcs symbolize to the people in that particular region, because we giving it to you. We just basically telling you what the orcs is, because you know no actual horse actually exists.
Right.
But when it was written about, what were they referencing it to be? That's why we looked at that word ra'am. It takes you to orcs, you know. So now you can go to the final page. Oh, before we go there, let's go right here to this picture. See that? This pose represents somebody bringing see an ancient Assyrian statuette in ivory of a man with an ox, a monkey, and a leopard skin. And this pose represents a Nubian offering up a sacrifice to some Assyrian god. That's why I was holding the ox by its horns. Just to give you an example, you know, 8th century BC. Check that out. That's over 2,000 years ago. Now we're gonna go right here. Okay. 1 second. Yeah,
This from the top.
Yeah, and the Greek historian Cestius, Ctesias, wrote about the unicorn. All right, so and on this page, I know we was on the show for a little while now, and there haven't been that much scriptures coming out because we're dealing with those 2 scriptures that we read thus far.
Con.
Those are basically the scriptures.
That's
now
right.
we're just giving you the history on it.
Con.
You know, if other scriptures come to mind with a certain point, we'll bring it out. You know what I'm saying? But it says unicorns in the Bible, historymash.com. It says there are unicorns in the Bible. How did they end up there? This might have to be a part 2, man.
Now, I mean, it's probably like a half hour so far.
Okay,
Shouldn't be that. Almost 40 minutes, so we good.
Okay. So it says there are unicorns in the Bible. How did they end up there? Were they real creatures? Did the authors of the Bible actually see them? Unfortunately, the answer isn't glamorous. Their appearance is due to an issue of translation. Highlights: there are unicorns in the Bible. A series of translators over the years created the unicorn, the origin of biblical unicorn, the Hebrew word ra'am. Scholar translated ra'am. And this all just happened from the copy and pasting that one word.
That's right.
This all go ahead, bro.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit. You know, the spirit. You know, just doing that, the spirit led us to a whole bunch of information. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how the spirit works.
You seen that? You know. Scholar translated ra'am to monokeros in Greek, unicornus in Latin, rhinoceros in Greek, Latin, and unicorn in English. Numbers 23 and 22 is an example of a Bible passage where Ra'am is translated in 3 different ways, including unicorn. Hebrew writings. The biblical unicorn's origins are in Hebrew writings that would later be adopted by Christians as the Old Testament. The Hebrew authors describe a horned animal as Ra'am that they believe represented strength. Remember, we looked at that word Ra'am, copied it, pasted it, the orcs popped up, and we read how what? An orc to symbolize pride and to symbolize power.
That's right.
The word strength. It is unclear what the animal was, but it may have been the mythological Ra'am, the worldly orcs. And when you type in Ra'am, a creature will pop up that got like one horn. See that? And look at it right here, Christian Bible. It's translated as orcs. And you click on that. See if you click on that.
Let's see if we click on it. There we go.
And this is the whole thing we've been talking about. So let's go back. And say rhinoceros there too. If you go back and look. Wild ox, wild bull, buffalo, rhinoceros. Unicorn, King James Version, you know?
That's right.
The worldly orcs or the extinct auroch. Okay? Now let's say it was that. From a profile view, that looks like it has one horn too.
That's right.
But it says, today, modern translations of the Bible use the term wild ox for the mysterious horned animal.
So you want to go to Deuteronomy now or later?
You could do that if you want to.
Okay, you know, cause, being that it mentioned wild ox, because so we're gonna go on Deuteronomy, cause that's written in Deuteronomy, the 14th chapter. All right. So real quick, we're gonna go to Deuteronomy to show you that the unicorn is part of the dietary law. All right, or the oryx. And that is
You go out eating horses.
Yeah. Or that it, just show you that it's a clean animal. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 14. 14 verse. What verse is that? Okay, 14 verse 4, it says, "These are the beasts which ye shall eat." Now it says the ox. Now it says the ox there, that represents the the cow, the bullock, the bull. Okay, that's what it represents. All the cattle. It says the ox, the sheep, and the goat. Now it says the hart and the roebuck, and the fallow deer, and the wild goat. And it said the hart, the roebuck. Now that's all represents deer. Okay, or like antelopes. And it says the wild goat and the pygarg. All right, and the pygarg is also another form of antelope. All right. Now it says the wild ox, which we just read in the article, and the charmerus. Now it says we're gonna the charmois, Salakia, charmois. Now it says the wild ox. We're gonna click on that word wild ox, and get that in the Hebrew.
There you go.
Okay.
What does that say right there?
Now it says wild ox. It says ka'awa. All right, that's the Salakia, Salakia, Tha'awa.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it says wild ox, antelope, and it says oryx. All right. So when you read the wild ox, that represents the oryx.
There you go.
Okay, or the unicorn that you read in Isaiah the 34th chapter. So this is where it's written where it's a clean animal.
And don't go out there eating horses. We're not saying horses is clean, man. Because if I go out there and start eating horses, man, the Most High gonna judge you. You're making it clear that that's not what it's talking about.
Yeah, that's right. So the oryx is not a horse. It's an antelope. All right.
That's right, brother.
That's what it is, and it refers to it as a wild ox. Okay, in the Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse of 5. All right. So we're gonna go back to the article, finish it out.
Because there's numerous animals that's in the antelope family.
That's right.
You gotta understand that. Now,
yeah, like it says the pygarg actually, and that looked just like oryx. Actually, we could get that real quick just to show you. another form of antelope. Hey, look, pretty much the same thing. And when you look at this animal from a side view, they horns also look like one horn. You know?
Yeah. There you go. That's right, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what y'all, you know,
Okay,
the
cool. So where we
spirit,
left off?
everything all spiritual.
Yeah, that's all the spirit. We
So
was
where we
left
at?
off
We was
at.
like right here.
Oh yeah, the
So it
wild
says,
ox.
today modern translations of the Bible use the term wild ox for the mysterious horned animal, which you just went to, right? Did we just show them that?
That's right.
So it says Greek Septuagint. According to the Jewish tradition, the king Ptolemy II, Philadelphus of Egypt, it says 283 to 246 BC, which Philadelphus, if you get the word Philadelphia from, which Philadelphia means brotherly love, and they got like 400 murders a year, so I don't know how well that's doing for them. But it says order the Jewish Torah to be translated into Greek and placed in the Library of Alexandria. Each of the 12 tribes of Israel sent 6 scholars to the king. They didn't. Now I'm gonna say this. At that point in time, the tribes, the 10 tribes, are already on the side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't mean that there were no members of the tribes that lingered back then, that was still around back then, but I highly doubt that they actually had 6 people from each of the 12 tribes. Okay, we got some Judas over here, we got some Issacharites over here, we got
Right.
some Ephraimites over here, we got some Manassehs over there, we got some Reubenites over there, we got some Benjamites over here, we got some Levites over here, we got some Zebulonites over there. I highly doubt that. But the words, what Septuagint means 70. So 6 scholars of each of the 12 tribes, 6 times 12 is 72. So whether they actually had 6 scholars of each of the 12 tribes or not, the fact of the matter is that Septuagint means 70, referencing the number of scholars that they were, regardless if they were from various tribes or not. All right? So it says each of the 12 tribes of Israel sent 6 scholars, because I don't believe they had 6 scholars from each of the 12 tribes. You know?
Gone.
All right, go over here, Gadites. Yeah, oh no, y'all over here, Asherites. I highly doubt it. You know, the king placed each scholar in a separate room in order the Torah to be translated. Miraculously, each scholar produced identical copies, suggesting the translation was divinely inspired. Okay, that's supposed to be the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. So that's why it says circa 350, British Library Papyrus. The translation became known as the Septuagint, or LXX, both Latin for 70. The tradition is a myth, so now you're saying the whole Septuagint thing is a myth, which that goes into a whole nother thing why they're trying to sit there and say that the Septuagint thing is a myth. You know, because now they're trying to challenge the Septuagint with this Masoretic text, but that's a whole nother topic. It says the tradition is a myth, and textual analysis reveals that the translations occurred over the course of centuries, and it contains scriptures that are not traditionally included in the Hebrew Bible. The Greek translation used for Ra'am, the horned animal representing strength, was monokeros. That's the Greek translation. So when they saw the word Ra'am there, and it was put in Greek, it said what? They put monokeros. Monokeros loosely translates to single horned or one horned animal. Saint Jerome's Latin Vulgate. Okay? Saint Jerome's Latin Vulgate. Within the vast Roman Empire, Latin translations of the old where was I? Oh, there.
Okay.
Of the Old and New Testaments existed piecemeal. Now you're typing that word piecemeal. Piecemeal means like, it basically means like in pieces, not like a consistent. Piecemeal basically means like partial measures taken over a period of time. Okay, that's basically what it means by piecemeal, or little by little, one piece at a time. So it said Latin translation is just the one piece at a time. The Latin texts were primarily translated from Greek sources, especially the Septuagint. This loose collection is known as Vetus Latina. That's a good type of word, Vetus Latina. It means Old Latin, okay, or Old Italian. And it's we read it says in Old Italic and devoted by the Siglum. Tells you Siglum right there. Is a collective name given to the Latin translations of biblical texts, both Old Testament and New Testament, that preceded the Vulgate. the Latin translation produced by Jerome in the late 4th century. So that's what that represents. The Vetus Latina was inadvertently problematic for early church worship, for early church leadership. Translations were not uniform, scriptures were missing or incomplete, and grammar was inconsistent. These issues led to the conflicting textual interpretations and the potential for doctrinal clashes. Now let's go to this other page right here. How you go to that page? The other tabs. Right there, yep. Okay, let's go down to right here. Said, because it's going to go into somebody. Hold on. I don't even think I read the brother name yet. Okay. Oh, yeah, St. Jerome. It says, read down, it says, Pope Damascus, 366 to 384, commissioned St. Jerome, 347 to 420, to remedy the problem by creating a new and complete translation of the Bible into Latin. Let's read a little bit about St. Jerome. We're not going to read a lot, just a little bit. This is from FranciscanMedia.org, St. Jerome, who was a Jake. Okay? Just type in St. Jerome Black and you'll find an image of him. St. Jerome's story. Most of the saints are remembered for some outstanding virtue or devotion which they practiced, but Jerome is frequently remembered for his bad temper. It is true that he had a very bad temper and could use a vitriolic pen, but his love for the Most High and his son Yahushua was extraordinarily intense. Anyone who taught error was an enemy of the Most High in truth, and St. Jerome went after him or her with his mighty and sometimes sarcastic pen. He was above all a scripture scholar, translated most of the Old Testament from the Hebrew. Jerome also wrote commentaries which are a great source of scriptural inspiration for us today. He was an avid student, a thorough scholar, a prodigious letter writer, and a consultant to monk, bishop, and pope. St. Augustine said of him, what Jerome is ignorant of, no mortal has ever known. That's how much knowledge he had. So if it was everything he was ignorant of, you don't know of it. St. Jerome is particularly important for having made a translation of the Bible, which came to be called the Vulgate. It is not the most critical edition of the Bible, but its acceptance by the church was fortunate. As a modern scholar says, no man before Jerome or among his contemporaries, and very few men for many centuries afterwards, were so well qualified to do the work. The Council of Trent, because you had a Council of Nicaea, you had a Council of Trent. The Council of Trent called for a new and corrected edition of the Vulgate and declared the authentic text to be used in the church. In order to be able to do such work, Jerome, now it tells you he was a prodigious letter writer and all of that, and he was, knew about the scriptures. That made me think of, what's that brother name? That was mighty in the scriptures in the book of Acts. It says he was mighty in the scriptures. He was mighty in the scriptures. What was his brother name? Not Apollos. It was in the book of Acts. It's on the tip of my tongue. Apollos, a native of Alexandria. So it says, in order to be able to do such work, Jerome prepared himself well. He was a master of Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and Chaldaic. He began to study at his birthplace, Straton in Dalmatia. I remember things the Apostle Paul, because he knew different languages. After preliminary education, he went to Rome, the center of learning at that time, and thence to Trier, Germany, where the scholar was very much in evidence. He spent several years in each place, always trying to find the very best teachers. He once served as private secretary to Pope Damascus. That's good. That's enough on him. Let's go back here. So let's go right here where we left off at. It says between 382 to 405 CE, which means Common Era, Jerome produced a new translation of the Old Testament based on Hebrew sources and a New Testament based on Greek sources. This complete new translation is known as the Latin Vulgate. Okay? And that right here says Codex Amiatinus circa 716, the oldest surviving complete Vulgate. It says the Vulgate received its name because in Latin, Vulgata means common or popular. St. Jerome's translation was the common and popular Latin translation used by the people of Rome and the church. So Vulgate or Vulgata means common or popular. So it's called the Latin Vulgate or the Latin Vulgata because Latin was a common or popular language spoke by the Christians at that time who were in Rome. Right. Spoken by them. St. Jerome used 3 words to describe the horned animal signifying strength. There were or in other words were orcs, orach, or wild ass. So what word did he use? Unicorn, monoceros, and rhinoceros. Unicorn, uni, one in Latin, cornus meaning horn, one horn. Monoceros, mono meaning single, like monopoly. Mono meaning one or mono meaning single, poly meaning cell. Monopoly means one cell. Back in the 70s, you had an ABA and you had the NBA. But now it's just an NBA. So, because the ABA sold the product of professional basketball, the NBA sold the product of professional basketball. But now it's just an NBA that sells you the product of professional basketball. Therefore, the NBA has a monopoly on professional basketball in the United States. All right. And you know, monopoly is all about you being that one person owning the whole, everything, the most on the board.
Yep.
The Rockefellers had a monopoly. You got the Carnegies had a monopoly on steel, I believe, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, so on and so forth. You can only get it from them, one cell. Rhinoceros, so it says mono, meaning single, keros, meaning one horn. Rhinoceros, rhino, nose. Like rhino means nose, like the term rhinoplasty. Rhino means nose. Plasty means to mold or form. So a rhinoplasty is a molding or forming of the nose. And there was another word for rhinoplasty? Nose job. So we know where rhino references nose.
Right.
Rhino, nose, keras, meaning nose horn. So rhinoceros means nose horn. Where does the rhinoceros have the horn? Right on his nose. So people say, oh, look, rhinoceros. Oh, look this. And they thinking that these animals, not a rhinoceros, man.
Right.
Because if that's the case, why would this reference a rhinoceros as a unicorn as being a sacrificial animal in Isaiah 34:7?
Right. That's right.
You could eat a rhinoceros now? Come on, man. After nearly 1,000 years of continual use, St. Jerome's Vulgate was used as the source to translate the first English Bibles. Okay? It's supposed to represent St. Jerome in the wilderness, which he was a Jake. You type in St. Jerome black, you're gonna find an icon of him. You know? But that goes into a whole nother topic. I'm saying we all know about Job 9:24. Those are like entry level scriptures.
Right.
Unicorns in the Jerome Vulgate or Latin Vulgate. Unicorns. The word unicornium and unicornes are used in the Vulgate. They were later translated to unicorn in English, and it gives you. If you can get that scripture, brother, Psalms 22 and 21, because that's Psalms 22 and 21 in Latin right there. We're reading in Latin. Salva me ex ore leonis et a conibus unicornium exaudi me. I'm not saying I'm pronouncing it correctly, but let's go.
Okay, so that's Psalms 22 and 21.
You know?
Let me see.
Spirit always reveals new revelations, man. That was a show the elders did years ago. That was the exact title, I believe it was. I said Job.
Job? Oh, Slakia. I hit Job by accident. Okay. Psalms 22.
21.
So this is Psalms chapter 22, verse 21. It says, "Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorns."
So what does that mean? A horn of a rhinoceros? Huh? It's not talking about that.
Nor a horse with a corn on his head.
No horse with a horn coming out of his head. Okay? Let's talk about those animals that was in that area. Because remember, the Bible, the Arabs from Ishmael, they live in the Middle East.
That's right.
The writers of the scriptures were living in the Middle East. So guess what? The same things those ancient Arabic poets saw, the ancient prophets saw. You gotta remember, this is Middle Eastern culture.
Yep.
This is Middle Eastern culture. When you read the scripture and speak about a millstone, you think only the Israelites was grinding mill at a millstone? No, the Arabs were doing it too. Do you think when you read the scripture, you read about, you read the scriptures, what's the custom in the scriptures? So that people should do. Like, you read in the scriptures and you read about, like, let me see, I'm trying to think of, you can go back to the other one too.
Okay,
to that same page. When you read the scriptures, what's another scriptural custom that we did in the ancient world? Like that was common. Oh, like the scriptures speak about a horse can't go through the eye of a needle.
Right. Okay.
Which is going into an entrance of a camel. Can't go fit through the eye of a needle. It's talking about the entrance to a city.
Mm-hmm.
You think the Israelites, the Jews, were the only ones that had camels that was going into the entrance of a city? You think that you didn't have Arabs that went through that same process?
Right.
This is regional history, brothers.
Mm-hmm. And when you look up pictures of that, they show you like little Arabs on camels, actually going through those
the entrance of the city,
the entrance of the city. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? When you read the scriptures and you read about certain things in like idol worshiping, you think that Jews, the Israelites, were the only ones worshiping idols? No, other people throughout that region was worshiping idols.
That's right.
This is historical stuff. This is Isaiah 34:7. It says, I know I'm gonna pronounce this wrong probably, but it says et descendent unicornis cum iis et toricum pentetibus inebria bitur terra erorum sanguine et humus eorum adipe pinguinum. Now you can go to Isaiah 34:7. Because didn't we read Isaiah 34:7 earlier?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we read that. That's what we read earlier.
You know, so you can go to it again. You can go to it again real quick if you want to.
Come on. All right, we'll read that part again.
Because why would the word unicorn be there in the Latin Vulgate? What was that word unicorn? Why was it? Is it there in English? Well, let's see. Maybe it ain't there.
So back.
Maybe it's not there. Let's see.
So back to Isaiah 34:7. And it says, and the unicorns shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness.
Now go back real quick. I want to see something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to that. I want you to copy and paste that whole verse, everything that's in Latin, and then paste it to Google, and see if you can find an English translation to it. No, go back. Do it again. Do it again. Highlight it. Press it. Hold it down. Just type in translate. Yeah, true language. See if you can find English. Right, English US. Yo, man. See? Hold on.
Is it?
That's what we just. Oh yeah, English more right there. Oh, so they didn't give it to us the way we want to get it. But
maybe if
go on Google.
Yeah,
Google would be a lot better.
Open up another page.
Google would definitely be a lot better, because Google will give you that. And type in know what you do. Type in English translation. Go back.
Let me see English.
Just type in just X the whole thing out. You can talk. You can say it. English translation.
Let me see. Well, I don't wanna mess up the
audio.
The mic maybe.
Oh,
English to Spanish. There we go.
No, hold on. Go back. You gotta do English. Go back. I'm sorry. Go to right there.
English to Latin, right?
Yeah, Romanian.
Latin to English.
Yeah. When it came up earlier, it said Romanian for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but go to Latin anyway though.
Let me see.
Latin and just for Spanish. Put English. I put English there.
Latin to English.
Yeah. Right there. Into text. So paste what we just did. We just copy.
Yep.
Come on, man. Come on, man. So we on point, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yo, man. Come on, brother. See if you type it in. What it? Oh, we might mess with the mic if it plays it, right?
Right. I mean, your brothers can see it on the screen.
Yeah, I can see it. So come on, man. Come on, man. So that's the same thing as saying in the scripture.
That's right.
Come on, what you gonna say now, brother? What they gonna say now? Hey, man, that's the spirit. It's all spiritual, bro.
Yep, that's right.
So spiritual.
Spirit.
This show is gonna be long, but hey.
I think it's about like an hour.
Hey, well, it's all good. If the brothers that's meant to see it, they're gonna watch it.
That's
if
right.
If you gotta see it, then it's all spiritual.
That's right.
Monoceros. The word monocerotis appears are used in the Vulgate. It was later translated to unicorn in English, and it gives you that. Matter of fact, we're gonna look up all three of these words. We can look at unicorn just now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you go? So we're gonna read this, and you can go to Psalms 92:10.
Okay.
So it says Psalm 92:10. It says et exaltabiter quasi monocerotis cornu mium et senecta mea in oleo uberi.
Okay.
In Psalm 92:20. And we're gonna read it in English, and then we're gonna do the same thing we did with the Google thing, Latin and English translation.
Psalms 92:20. What? 10, right?
Yep.
Okay, it says this. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of an unicorn. I shall be anointed with flesh oil.
With
It's like
fresh
with
oil.
fresh oil.
And you know, exalted like the horn of a unicorn. You know how the animals rise up, they exalt their horns up and lift up their head.
That's right.
So you can go back to that and go on Google again. Yep. There you go. X this out.
X that.
No, yeah. Clear it. Yep.
Yep, same thing.
Yeah. It says my old age and rich oil. The scripture
Fresh
says
oil.
fresh oil.
Con.
But rich oil, fresh oil. Yeah, oil that's rich is oil that's fresh.
Con.
You know? Because you know the scriptures tell you a good name is better than the precious ointment.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what that means is that a good name is better than the precious ointment. Why is that? Because if you take an oil and you put it on a person, eventually what happens is the smell of that oil will wear off over time.
Right.
But a good name is better than that because a good name will always last.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody had cologne, if somebody had an oil on in the year 205 BC, is you gonna smell it on their corpse now? Of course not. But if that person from back during that time period had a great name, they still gonna be remembered now.
Right.
Alexander he's called Alexander the Great. You know, but over 1,000 years later, thousands of years later, his name is still remembered now because he looked at as a great man.
That's right.
Moses predates him. Moses is a great man. You're not gonna smell an ointment from that far back in time. That's what I said. A good name is better than a precious ointment. A precious ointment is a rich ointment, a fresh ointment. So though it said fresh ointment in the scriptures and rich ointment we translated it, it's still the same thing.
Con.
Rhinoceros. The words rhinoceros and rhinocerota are used in the Vulgate. They were later translated to unicorn and unicorns in English. Numbers 23:22. Deus idus. You want to try to pronounce that?
Let me see.
I've been
Deal.
reading. See,
Ex.
my jaw
Deal.
getting tired from reading.
Ex duex. Un de Egypto.
That like Egypt.
Yep.
You see? Egypto.
Siusus forteros of Slakia. Fortitudo.
You know what that sounds like? Sounds like fortitude.
Yeah.
Like courage or something like that.
Similis s. Rhinocerotis.
There you go.
Okay.
So you can
Copy and paste this.
yeah, you can look up on that website too if you want.
Yeah.
And we're only gonna do this with this scripture. We're not gonna go to the other ones because the other ones still got rhinoceros there.
Con.
So you can go to the Bible version you was doing before, and then you could just copy and paste that to the No, go to the Bible first.
Oh yeah, Slakia.
Yeah.
Which scripture was that again?
Numbers, go back. Numbers.
Oh, Numbers 32 and 22, I believe.
I think it's 23 and 22.
Numbers.
Yeah, Numbers 23 and 22. Yeah, 23 and 22.
Okay, con. Numbers 23, verse 22.
Yes.
Okay, it says God brought them out of Egypt. He have
Egyptus, right?
Mhm.
Didn't you read that?
Yep. It says he have as it were the strength.
Fortitudo, right?
That's right.
They would say it sounds like courage, strength, courage.
It says as it were the strength of a unicorn.
Isn't the oryx known for its strength, its power?
Yep.
Just as other animals that's a part of that antelope family.
That's right.
You know, and them other animals with them other horned beasts.
Mm-hmm.
So this unicorn is not talking about an actual horse with a horn. It's talking about a one-horn, clean animal that's looked like a unicorn from its profile view.
That's right.
Which when you look it up, the word that comes up is orcs. But let's say it's not just the orcs. It says other animals of the antelope family. But we know orcs is that animal that's really looked at as symbolic of that.
That's right.
You know?
So that's Numbers. Yep.
See right
Well,
there.
let's see if we can pull up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
It just says that.
Oh yeah, this is all it's pretty much giving us.
All right. Now check this out. This is what we gonna do. Now somebody said, "Oh, hold on. This is what we gonna do." All right. How you get just the word rhinoceros?
Oh, just a word?
Just that word, the last word that's there.
Okay.
Like backslash.
Oh, yeah. So like, let me delete all.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Let me see.
Like backspace.
There we go. Rhinoceros.
There you go. Boom. So we come on.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. See that? It's all spiritual, man. We're not gonna read the other two words, the other two scriptures that got the Sibra rhinoceros because we already know that. Okay? Unicorns in the English translations of the Bible between the 14th and 17th centuries, scholars translate, because we already know these other words are going to be unicorn. Y'all brother could do it yourselves. If y'all want to do that, y'all could do it yourselves, you know? That's all. You know, because we fact checking, because we looking at these words, we see it says stuff is supposed to be in Latin, so we be doing a background check. Let's see if they really know what they're talking about. And this is on point. Unicorns in the English translations of the Bible. You want to read that?
Let me see. Unicorns and English translation of the Bible. It says between the 14th and the 17th centuries, scholars translate the Bible into English, and the first translation mostly depended on the Vulgate as a source material. It says later translations use Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic texts in addition to the Vulgate. It says unicorns appear in the following English language Bibles.
Let's read the first one.
Okay, it says the Wycliffe Bible. All right. It says group handwritten.
1382 to 1395.
Yeah, it's like 1382 to 1385. It says group of handwritten translations organized by John Wycliffe and associated with the Larod movement.
The Lolard movement. They believe in a lot of different stuff, but they believe it's what they call sola scriptura. In other words, the scriptures alone. They believe that the Bible was basically the infallible proof of God, which will be considered sola scriptura. We believe it's the scriptures standing alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, go ahead.
It says Wycliffe was declared a heretic by the church after by the church after his death, and his corpse disinterred and defiled.
Yeah, his corpse was disinterred, in other words, dug up. We don't gotta read the rest of that.
Okay, come.
So now we're gonna go. You got King James right here, King James 1611, authorized by King James I to replace the Bishop's Bible in the church. Church England to counter pressure the emerging Puritan movement, translated by 47 scholars who use Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, and Latin sources. Unicorns in the English Bible using the King James version 1611. The following passages contain unicorns. And we don't got to read these scriptures. Y'all could just, pause the video, scroll through it real quick so y'all can look. Okay. And if you look right here, as you can see, the word unicorn, for example, ends with an E. Now, why do we got an E? If we look in the Bible, we don't got no E there. It's just an N. Basically, you have something called orthography. And orthography is basically like a study of the spelling of words. And what happens is when you got a word that ends with an E, it makes the previous vowel become a long vowel. Let me give you an example. Like the word hop, H-O-P. When you add an E to hop, it becomes hope. That O becomes elongated, becomes a long vowel. If the word bit, B-I-T, when you add an E to bit, what does it become? It becomes bite. That I becomes a long vowel. So when you add an E to the end of a word, the previous vowel becomes a long vowel.
That's right.
If you got the word bath, B-A-T-H. You add an E to bath, B-A-T-H-E. What is that? That's bathe. The previous vowel to the E is an A, and that A becomes a long vowel, bathe. So unicorn, U-N-I-C-O-R-N-E, unicorn. The O is the previous vowel to the E, so it becomes a long vowel, unicorn. But we don't got to use the E, so you can just drop the E because the E is silent as it is. It just put there so you can know how to pronounce that word. Okay, just to bring that out, just in case somebody said, wait a minute, brother, there's an E right there. Why is that there? That's not in the scriptures. You just got to drop the E because it's a silent E anyway.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And that's basically kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, I'll
pretty
be,
much.
yeah,
Yeah, brothers, they got the full understanding. Should get the full understanding.
yeah, yeah, con. You know what I'm saying? So, um, yeah, that's basically it, brothers. It's still a little bit more here. It just gives you different stuff, referencing, unicorn. That's basically it, man.
Con.
You know what I'm saying? That's basically it. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll read this last little thing here, and that's it. Numbers 23 and 22, an example. Number 22 and 22 is an example of how various translations in the Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and English identified the unicorn over roughly 2,000 years. In Numbers 23 and 22, we read that already.
Con. With the
But not a
strength.
strength, but the strength of a unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
The book of Numbers in the English is known as Bamidbar in Hebrew, in the desert of, or desert of, or wilderness. Arthamoi in Greek and Numeri in Latin. The version that we know today was written sometime around 450 BCE and covers the period between when the Jews arrived at Mount Sinai under the leadership of Moses, to their arrival on the plains of Moab under the leadership of Joshua. In the meantime, 2 generations of Jews died in the desert for not having the proper faith in the Most High's plan, says God there, to conquer and ethnically cleanse Canaan. The animal in question, whether Ra'am, Orak, Wild Ass, Monoceros, or Unicorn, was translated in the following ways: Hebrew Ra'am, Greek Monoceros, Latin Rhinocerotis. Note that the passages in the Latin Bible translate the word as unicornis or unicorns, English unicorn, and this gives you some stuff where this person is referencing certain things. Right here, this person says they think, um, that's the word for monoceros here. As you look right here, it says there's a possibility that they're wrong at the bottom of the page, but that's basically it, brothers. You see the word rhinoceros right there? See that right there at the bottom of the page, brother?
Mm-hmm.
Right
Yeah,
there?
yeah, right there.
So that's basically it, man.
Yeah, so hopefully, this is a beautiful show, through the spirit, and that you brothers are edified, and get the, have the understanding of what unicorns are according to the scriptures, Hey, and that's pretty much it. Okay.
That's pretty much it. It's not talking about a horse with a horn going out of his head. It's not talking about a rhinoceros. It's not talking about that, brother. It's talking about a clean animal.
Yep.
With horns, and from a profile view, it looks like it has one horn.
That's right.
That's it.
Which is the characteristics of that animal, all right,
Yeah.
or a trait.
And exactly. Now, Orcs, ORYX, is known as a flagship animal.
That's right.
FLAGSHIP, and a flagship animal is like symbolic, like how like a symbol or something, or iconic, like how a donkey is symbolized with Mexicans. It
right.
represents a strong working class people.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's it. It's a beast of burden.
Con. So hey, and with that, we're gonna say
Spirit had us do the research.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Con. So with that, hope you brothers learned something. And we're gonna say all praises due to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Makakudash, and shalom to the elders, apostles, and and shalom to the elect.
And that's all. One thing is all spiritual, because you know what I'm saying, elders in the house, and the brother come over, you just talking, and say, yeah, so and so and so, this, that, and third, and then we just started researching.
That's right.
We supposed to do this a few days ago, but the Spirit had us do it now.
Yeah.
And it was deeper now than it would have been if we would have did it a couple days ago. So it's perfect timing.
That's right, because we gather more information. That's
right.
Brother. Hey, so we're gonna say, hey, shalom, to the elect. Shalom.